Yes, in this new lesson we're going to study on some sex-linked traits in the human. Example 1, color, blindness. The cause of this disease is recessive, important, sex-linked gene connected to the X chromosome, with X chromosome C come from color, taken from the word color, and the ratio of this disease in male more than female. Why in male more than in female? Because in male, XY chromosome all depend on X, while in the female, the disease can be seen only when it is pure recessive. So in hybrid and dominant, not show it effect on the organism, but only when it's pure recessive. But in male, if it is capital, not affected, while it is recessive, organism directly suffer from this disease. The affected person feels inability to recognize between the colors red and green. That's why he has to be careful when driving a car in traffic lights. In the following, the explanation of genotypes and phenotypes for this disease. As you know, also they are not Mendelian genetics, so this genotypes and phenotypes, what we need to memorize, because sometimes in ministry exam question like fill in the blanks, they can ask about the genotype or phenotypes of organism for different traits. So not affected female when both cases, both X chromosome carry the dominant gene, not affected, or the disease carrier, one dominant, one recessive, means hybrid. So the disease carrier means the organism carry the gene which cause the abnormality, but this gene cannot show its effect on this organism, but it can be transported to the next generation. Another thing we need to know, the carrier only about the recessive sex-linked genetics, not about the dominant. For dominance, there is no carrier. And affected female have to be pure recessive. For men, if it is dominant organism is not affected, means healthy, but when it's recessive, it's healthy. So in some cases, it can tell you one male and one female, both of them carrier. The carrier for female is clear. What about the male? Male carrier means also like what? Same as affected. We use this genotype. Chapter questions. The disease of color blindness is caused by a recessive sex-linked gene. If an affected woman got married to a normal man, what are the expected phenotypes for their children with respect to this trait? The parents, as we said, we need to memorize their genotype, because the disease is recessive, and it linked to X chromosome, so affected woman for human 2 X chromosomes, both of them must be recessive. A normal man with XY chromosome, normal means with capital C. They produce gametes, so the pure woman produce one kind of gamete only, but heterogametic man produce 2 types of gamete, X with capital C and Y chromosome. So in F generation, X capital C with X small c means carrier female, and X small c with Y chromosome means the affected male. So as we can see, the phenotype of male directly related to the female. So if a woman is infected, always their sons or male offsprings suffer from this disease. Or what if female also affected? What about the female members depend on their father? If father is infected, also they are infected. But if father is healthy, they can be healthy. As we said about the eye color in the Drosophila melanogaster, female depend on their father, male depend on their mother, like diagonal genetics. Another example, hemophilia. The affected of this disease are described as inability of their blood to clot. Means blood clotting is delayed or sometimes does not happen when having a cut in the skin. That's because of difficulty of breaking the blood platelets. We remember from chapter 2, blood platelets broke and release a thromboblastin enzyme. That's because of antihemophilic factor, which is called the factor 8, is missing. Missing this factor is caused by a recessive sex-linked gene. Again, it's recessive and connected to the X chromosome, but not C. We use H. H comes from what? From hemophilia. The genetic of this disease is similar to genetic of color blindness, except the pure female in the gene of disease, which suffer from disease, may die in the early stage of embryonic growth. So we said any simple cut in the skin, because bleeding does not stop organism, may die. So if you look at the phenotype and genotypes of male and female members in respect to hemophilia disease, again the pure dominant not affected for female. The hybrid again is carrier. Carrier means not show it effect on organism, but can transport this gene to the next generations, and affected female. For male with capital not affected means healthy, and with small one is affected or carrier, like what? Like color blindness, there is no carrier. For male, if they have recessive gene, they are affected, but they have capital gene, they are not affected. And for carrier, we need 2 allele genes, and one of them dominant, one of them have to be recessive. And also another important point, disease have to be recessive, because for dominant traits there is no carrier. From chapter questions, a left-handed man who carries hemophilia got married with right-handed woman who carries the disease. So man carries hemophilia means infected. What infected? Small h and y. Got married with a right-handed woman who carries the disease, carrier female, X capital with X small. Half of the children, boys, were affected by this disease. So affected boy like what? Like father. Half of the girls carrying the disease, and other had 2 normal children with this generation. One of them was left-handed. What is the possible genotypes for all the children in this family? Give that right-handed not affected by hemophilia are dominant traits. So what given us? We need to write the genotypes of organisms, like for what? Left hand, right hand, what? Carrier male, carrier female, and normal children is normal male, normal female. They are all the genotypes we need to know to solve the question. As they say, right-handed is dominant, so we use capital R for right-handed. Left-handed is recessive. Carrier male, carrier female, normal male, and normal female. So we try to solve the question. All left-handed men carry hemophilia, with another female right-handed carrier female. Parents for carrying hemophilia, we know the genotype. For female carrying the hemophilia, also we know the genotype. About right and left-handed, so you need to remember the test cross. You remember, for example, for left-handed, we are sure, we know it's have to be pure. But about the right hand, it is pure or hybrid. We reach this result from the generation. When we look the generation, they say one of them is left-handed. So left-handed need to be pure. So each of this allele received from one of the parents. So both parents contain recessive small r allele gene. So in this case, we can say mother is hybrid, or if a pure dominant or a pure recessive organisms are crossed with one another, all the generation are must be dominant with dominant trait. But if there are two types of organisms in F1 generation, when a dominant crossed with another recessive, it means the dominant trait is hybrid. So in these two ways, we can be sure about the purity of mother. So parent produce their gametes. We solve the question like the hybrid cross in Mendel. So hybrid only for one trait, so it produces two kinds of gametes, small r with XH and small r with Y chromosome. For female, hybrid for both traits produce four kinds of gamete, R with H. For female, because it's hybrid for both traits, R capital with H capital, R capital with H small, R small with H capital, and R small with H small, as we see for gametes. What are the possible genotypes for all the children in this family? So we need to draw the Punnett box. The 1, 2, 3, and 4 female gametes, male gametes, male gametes, female gametes, and as a result of F generation, we see the possible genotype for all the children in this family, like right-handed carrier, female, right-handed, infected or affected female, left-handed, carrier female, left-handed, affected female, right-handed, healthy or not affected male, right-handed affected male, left-handed not affected male, and left-handed affected male. Genetic of dominant sex-linked traits in human. What two examples we study? They are recessive, but this one is dominant. Some people have decrease in phosphor level in the blood. We know phosphorus is good or needed for bones to be healthy. The cause of disease is a dominant sex-linked gene. The normal person has got recessive X small d. So in this case, there is no carrier because we said the carrier only for recessive gene. Practical example, woman affected by rachitis. Affected by rachitis means what? It can be pure or can be hybrid. Her mother was affected too, but her father was not affected. She got married to a man which is not affected, and she had 4 children. There were a boy and a girl affected. What is the genotype for each member of this family? So what we need to know we need to be sure about the traits of parents. There are 2 probability for mother. To be sure which one, we look there, the parents of woman. Her mother was affected, but her father not affected. So the father which is not affected need to be with small recessive and Y chromosome. And we saw the woman, the female, receive what? X chromosome from male. So woman need to contain a recessive allele. So we choose the hybrid for what? For woman. Married to a man which is not affected men have to be what? Pure, because we said, as I said, the normal person which is not affected disease with X small d with Y chromosome. So the crossing must be between this male and this female. Some children are affected and some are normal. That means the mother is hybrid in the gene of disease because she was pure. If she was pure, then all the children will be affected. Also, we conclude that the woman is hybrid from her father, which is not affected. So the hybrid female with not affected male, they produce gametes. Both of them produce 2 gametes, and the result for F generation is female affected, male affected, female not affected, and male with not affected from this disease. Like an example, but it is an ministry exam question. You remember maybe the pedigree, which before we study about the European civilization, they observe some certain traits through their generation, like albinism. The square means male, and the circle means female. When it's colored means carry the disease. When it's uncolored, clear, is not carry the disease. So, and the same question about sex-linked genetic also can be observed through the pedigree, but mainly we not use it to solve the questions in ministry exam or any other part. Sex influence traits. The phenotype for the trait depends on the sex of the person. Hybrid express about the phenotype in sex and alternative type in other sexes. Example for that is baldness in human. It is known that this trait is controlled by the gene capital B, which is available on the body chromosomes, but not sex chromosomes. That means what? The trait is not located on sex chromosome, but it's influenced. Sex of organism affect on working of genes or effect on phenotype of organism with that gene, which is available on the body chromosome. It is dominant in male. The baldness produces in male by genotype pure dominant or hybrid dominant, but it does not produce baldness in female except in pure dominant of that. The effect of it is that as much as in male, it expresses about in later stage of the age. The appearance of baldness depends on the concentration of male hormone. And before they ask about, we need to know about the genotype for male and female. Can be asked in ministry exam questions when they are pure recessive, both of them not affected. But for male, in which cases when it is pure or hybrid, seen in phenotype, but for female only carry the gene, but only seen when it is pure dominant. But why it's male in hybrid is seen in phenotype, but in female does not? The answer is about the concentration of male hormone. The other sex-influenced traits are trait of length and shape of the feathers in chicken, horn in sheep, color of the hair in Ayrshire cow. There are two descent. One of them is red and the other is spotty by black and white. And the last type is more common in male. Again, about what? Maybe about the concentration of some hormones. Sex-limited traits, what we studied before, the sex of organism affect influence of the traits. But in this case, the sex of organisms limit, not allow trait to appear. We have known when studied the recessive sex-linked gene will be in the male more than in female. And there are other factors can affect the express of the gene according to the sex, male or female, in different ways. Like we can say equation, why baldness in female does not seen when it is hybrid? Because there is no enough hormone. So sex of organisms limit, not allow, express the gene to show its effect on phenotype. Sex-limited traits due to the gene effect on the structure or function of the body, which is available in male only or in female only. This kind of gene can be located on body chromosomes or linked to sex chromosomes. Understanding the sex-limited genetics is important for people who specialize in looking after animals, for example, producing milk in cows. Affect one sex only, but any of the parents can transfer the gene which is control this traits. Means cow give milk, so in breeding or mating or for next generation to produce a new cattle to give more milk, but the male also important because the gene is transported by male and female, but show it affect only female about milk in cows. Another example in human is the voice, growing beard, the size of breast, and the sudden rise in blood pressure at the time near giving birth for some pregnant woman. In general, female do not have growing beard because what? Its ability to secrete essential hormone for growing hair in the face. So not insufficiency of that hormone limit the trait to be seen in female.